Don, we keep hanging out. This is great. We keep
do.
having these
Yeah.
movies to talk about, and most of them seem to be from Warner Brothers. Whether
You
it's
don't say. Yeah.
well, it's Barbie. It's East of Eden, which we're talking about tonight. It is what did we talk about last week? We talked about Rio Bravo, which someone on Twitter helpfully reminded me is actually a trilogy. I didn't know this.
I connect the dots. What are the other two?
They listed them for me. I can't remember. I think they all had Rio in them or something like that.
So that might be your Rio Grande, Rio Bravo, and then you thought Yellow Ribbon?
No, that's a different trilogy. Rio Bravo is apparently the beginning of like this whole separate trilogy. So we might have some more homework to do. I imagine probably some anniversary editions in our future.
This feels like homework fulfilled from when we did Rebel Without a Cause not too far back, because like we've been talking Dean, we've been talking Elia Kazan, and here we are again. So.
And that's really why I was excited to talk to you about this particular movie. Doing a mild bit of homework. By the way, Don Shanahan of Every Movie Has a Lesson and Film Obsessive and Cinephile Hissy Fit podcast. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Get that intro in there. But so this was actually James Dean's first movie in 1955. Came out in April of 55. Rebel Without a Cause came out in October of 1955, and James Dean died in September of 1955.
We're around the
tragically.
This was the only one he saw of his finished products. So amazing.
It's a tragedy. I mean, because Giant, which was the epic 3.5 hour movie that came out in 56, November of the following year, posthumously. So he, talk about like burning bright and fading out fast. And this movie, along with Rebel, and I remember Giant less than the others because he was in that movie, but it wasn't a James Dean picture like these are.
Yeah.
But, East of Eden and Rebel Without a Cause are terrific companion pieces, which makes sense because East of Eden is about, brothers, and these are definitely siblings down to, I don't know if this is trivia or just because I'm sleep deprived and I happen to notice when I was looking at the names of the characters.
Okay.
Jim Stark is James Dean character in Rebel Without a Cause. Cal Trask is James Dean's character in East of Eden. Both 3-letter first names. Stark and Trask are anagrams of each other.
Yep.
What is going on here?
I wonder, that would have to be intentional of the Rebel side of things, because this is taken straight from the Steinbeck novel. Like, this isn't Cal Trask isn't a manufactured name the way Jim Stark must definitely be. So I wonder if it's, that's interesting though, because like in the short amount of time that ongoing projects are happening, screenplays are being done and whatnot, like to even think that. So it's a wild coincidence. So
yeah, and probably indicative of nothing except one of those cosmic kind of like nods and winks, but very similar kind of films. And this is something I think I told you my story about binging all 3 James Dean movies over one long night in art school 26 years ago.
Right.
I can't believe I didn't put together how similar East of Eden and Rebel Without a Cause are, probably because I was watching them late at night. East of Eden, I think, is a great film, but I think there needs to be a bit more space in the watching because Dean plays very similar parts here. It's that very kind of methody, almost Brando, which is where you get your Elia Kazan kind of tie-in with like Streetcar and all that. But he's the brooding, misunderstood, doesn't feel love from his, distant father. Parents are all messed up, and he's got, there's a girl who's kind of attracted to him, and he doesn't know how he feels about her, and all this weird stuff. I felt like I was almost watching an Elseworlds version of Rebel Without a Cause up to a certain point, and then it becomes very different and very dark, and I was not ready for his character shift. Wow.
Same. So, are you saying James Dean has a type? Is he a one-note? I can't call the man a one-note actor, a small sample size, but like he had a wheelhouse, and we saw it hard in 2.5 films.
He did, but here's the thing, and we'll get into this probably in like the spoiler section, but towards the end of East of Eden, he shows like a darkness and a sinister quality that had he lived, I think he could have made an amazing, like a real heel, like a villain in a movie. I
don't know if he would have made it 20 years to be like Travis Bickle, but the the edge is there. Like he's got it, you know. I know the comparisons come out often with Heath Ledger also dying young, where we got to see Heath Ledger be a magnetic lead in many places and then be a tortured lead in some places and then get to play a full heel. So we got the big sample from a guy like Heath, and I think same age, right? 27.
Yeah, I think they were part of
Yeah,
the 27 Club, along with
27 Club.
was it Joplin and Hendrix and all
Yep.
these weird.
And
Yeah, it's
Morrison.
crazy.
Yeah. So the sample size we got of Ledger lets us kind of know, like, man, like we saw full scope to that man's career, but to only get 3 out of James is a shame, because I he's got it. He's got everything you want. Where I think he can put that smile on and megawatt charm, where maybe, you know, where he could do a Ryan Gosling thing, like a Crazy Stupid Love, where you can turn the method off for a little bit, but still kind of just show the megawatt charisma. But then at the same time, like here I am talking about like Taxi Driver, you know, where I mean an edge somewhere. I need to like look in the 60s, like towards those late 60s we've been talking about here on the show, like 67, 69. Like what would be a James Dean 37-year-old part that he would have just smoked compared to whoever had that cast spot? I'll have to do some digging while you're talking at some point here.
Oh yeah, I would have loved to have seen what he would
Yeah.
do with like the dangerous, hippie, violent 60s and 70s revolution. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
can you imagine James Dean and Martin Scorsese working together? Oh my
Oh
god.
yeah, because by that point, I mean, what 74 is Godfather? Is that 19 years after this? He'd be mid 40s. Like, is he Italian enough where he plays the Jimmy Caan part in Godfather? Like, something crazy could be there, you know, like in the woulda, coulda, shoulda department of things. So, whew,
I don't know about
yeah.
that, but you're putting me into the mindset of could I see James Dean as Michael Corleone? Because he's got that kind of
Ooh,
heaviness, that sadness, those the
yeah.
kind of droopy eyes.
And that's
Uh,
Pacino too, as the similar method guy. So, yeah. Ooh, ooh,
wow. All right, so we'll save our fantasy football for
yeah.
later.
Sorry.
Let's
Yeah.
talk about no. This is James Dean's limited filmography lends itself to these big kind of what if conversations because of we only have the 3, but
Uh-huh.
this movie, as you mentioned, is based on the novel by John Steinbeck, which I have not read. Have you read it?
I am not. No, that's
Okay.
homework beyond me. I think I made it through Mice and Men because some professor told me to, but I think the whole Cain and Abel comparisons were a little freaky deaky for public school. So yeah, didn't
Yeah,
it got
I'm
scrubbed from my school, that's for sure.
Well, I'm curious about because I'm in the process of reading the Bible now, and the Cain and Abel story. There's not a lot to it, so to
No,
see it kind of brought into a modern for the 1950s context
yeah,
is fascinating, and it is very on the nose in some cases. You've got Cal, James Dean's character, and you've got Aaron, who's
mm-hmm,
Cain and Abel. Their father is Adam. Hello.
mm-hmm,
Um, they've got an estranged mother who kind of went off and did her own thing, which could be seen as eating from the apple of the forbidden tree. I mean, she goes off and essentially runs a number of very successful brothels in Monterey, California, leaving this
right,
family behind. The kids think that their mom died when they were children, and the dad
right,
doesn't really know what happened to her. So there's all these family secrets and intrigue. There is the favored son, Aaron, who is constantly the apple of his father's eye, again, no pun intended, and Cal, who's sort of the misfit, the one who doesn't
mhm,
quite fit in. And part of that is because he has grown up feeling that he's bad. He's grown up feeling that there's something wrong he can't quite place. And when the movie
mhm,
opens, he has followed this madam back to her house and kind of
mhm,
tried to confront her and run into, I guess, her main enforcer. Through a series of events, he comes to meet her and learn what happened to the family, and he brings that information back to his family with dad, who's trying to get into the frozen produce business. This is
mhm,
all at the start of this takes begins in 1917, on the at the just before World War I breaks out.
right,
um, and dad Adam loses his entire fortune because the frozen lettuce that he's put onto this train to go across country is going to revolutionize business, runs into a snowstorm. The train breaks down and everything, all the lettuce melts, and it's a beautiful
mhm,
scene of just this rotten produce and this rainstorm coming down from these slats of this
yeah,
rail car. So the son decides, well, I got to help my dad out because that would get me in his good graces because
mhm,
I don't feel like anybody loves me. he goes into business harvesting beans because the local businessman who looks oddly like Mike Lindell, the My Pillow guy,
Right.
he he's like, beans are the future. If you could get $5,000, we could get, as much land as you want. We could, have this crop and sell it to the British government,
Mhm.
and all of that, and make a killing. So he borrows the money from mom, ill-gotten
Mhm.
gains for sure, doesn't tell dad anything about this, kind of becomes a secret farmer, and then lays this giant stack of cash on his dad, to not because he wants to become a giant bean baron. He just wants
No,
to make enough money to get his dad back all the money that he lost because he saw what he did to him. It's a very sweet gesture.
it
But
is.
as we'll find out later,
Yeah.
as I bring my rambling summary to a close, it's not quite enough. And we find
No.
that, much like in the biblical story, Cain, who's the not favored son, would like nothing more than for his dad to appreciate him, and nothing he does is ever good enough. And so he takes it out on the preferred brother. And that plays out in a way that doesn't exactly result in death, but it results in a
Right.
kind of like spiritual assassination that's almost
Yeah.
worse.
I like the way you put that with spiritual assassination. I mean, the comparisons to the biblical story, of course, are symbolic and in there in lots of places. But what you open with and what you're talking about, just to where the layers of depth and the layers of favor that are examined here, and then obviously compared to the Bible, a whole lot more color shadings in terms of personality and persons and people, of like what, where Aaron comes from, where, well, I should say where Aaron comes from, where Cal comes from, and how they're definitely more fully formed characters than the couple of chapters we get in Genesis. So it does help that this movie goes deeper, and I have to think that comes from Steinbeck, just making a burner of a novel, because and this kind of falls under that Hollywood thing of like, take a hit, take a big hit, watershed novel and turn it into a movie pretty quickly, because this was a 1952 novel that hit screens by 55, where this was quick turnaround stuff. So, and we've seen that in some of the things I think what was the other one we talked about, where it was that was a really fast turnaround of a novel to film in our shows? Was Rebel wasn't a novel. Something was equally fast. We're like, hey, we got to grab the lightning bolt of this hit and go.
Was it Fast Times at Ridgemont High? Maybe from a
Um,
couple years ago.
no, because that's an original screenplay. I don't think it's based on like a comeback novel or anything like that. I don't know. It'll come to
It
me when
was,
we
yeah,
get
it
to it.
was. Well, it was a
Oh,
book. It was a book of journalism,
okay, okay,
on the part of Cameron Crowe.
that's right.
Um,
Okay,
yeah, but no, but that's the thing, is when you say quick turnaround, I mean, there's nothing quick turnaround feeling about East of
no,
Eden. It's a lush
care was
movie
taken.
with
Yeah.
yeah, with some terrific performances.
Mhm.
And again, I'm going to go a little bit far afield and rely on my favorite punching bag, Timothy Chalamet.
Mhm.
The kind of the young brooding actor of the now.
Yep, that's him.
Where, I guess his Rebel Without a Cause or East of Eden could have been considered Call Me by Your Name. That was like his
True.
big breakout. But now
Mhm.
he's like gonna be Willy Wonka, and he's in
I know.
Dune 2 and stuff. I wonder what happened to these juicy, mainstream, huge studio backing parts, because this isn't
Mhm.
just like a new talent showcase. This is an actual legitimate
Yeah.
film that can appeal to teens and,
Mhm.
adults. There's a lot going on here.
I agree, and I'll even give another detail to that. Where are those big juicy parts for people under 30? We don't get. I mean, if there's big juicy parts, but you gotta kind of be aged enough that you can kind of settle in there. Like even all of our Chris's, the Hemsworths, the Pines, and all that, they're in their 30s and 40s at this point. Robert Downey Jr. getting big parts. Like I wonder how old. I got to do the math. How old he was when Chaplin came around in '91. But like you don't. And then Heath is our most recent example, and Timothy's the current one. But you're talking about like, and Timothy's been able to hide in the indie shadows for a pretty good little bit. But like you said, this is a Warner Brothers, big studio, big, an award-winning director bringing a grand novel to screen, and we rest all those hopes on the unknown James Dean. Like that stuff does not happen anymore, or if it does, it's not in this scale. I mean, I can keep thinking about like, the Moonlights and the Whiplashes, but we knew Miles Teller, and then Moonlight's still an indie. I guess even Whiplash is still an indie, where yeah, or I mean, you have Saoirse Ronan a little bit on the female side, but like where maybe when Greta Gerwig calls her number for Lady Bird and she's under 27 years old, where like But again, we're still talking an indie, not a big studio. Put it on the shoulders of the unknown kid. We don't get that stuff unless it's a Bond film. But even then, Daniel Craig was 35 or 33 when he did Casino Royale. So not the under 30 crowd doesn't get these shots.
I am blanking on the breakout film Saoirse Ronan did. It was one of my favorite films. Atonement. Thank you. I knew it was
she
a
was
one
like
word
12, or 14.
She was 12. Yes, but that was also
that's McAvoy and Knightley,
Yes, James McAvoy. Keira Knightley is a known property because of the Pirates movies, but that is a great example of that was a bigger prestige kind of award season movie, but it got a huge release and everyone was talking about it. And the three youthful leads in that movie, I think, were astonishing. But you got to go back to 2006 to find that, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, but back to like East of Eden at hand, Dean was, I think you can see it in a lot of the older generation actors that he's working with. There is like this kind of clash of styles where they're more, not to say that they're stiff, but they're more, I guess, proper in their acting. You can tell that they are performing in the film. You got Burl Ives playing the sheriff, who does really well. And I think that he really comes alive and becomes more natural when he's on the screen with James Dean. But Dean is just so like wrapped up in the emotion. I'm going to make you feel and cry and all this other stuff. I noticed towards the end when he's going to visit, and we got spoilers on, folks. So when he's going to visit his father, who's had a stroke, largely in part to something that Cal set into motion, he's so freaked out by going to see his, invalid dad that he's turned to the wall and it looks like he's trying to melt into the molding of the door frame. And he does that a lot in this movie. He's just trying to disappear.
Yeah. No, I heard a note about this where Raymond Massey, who plays the dad, before he's an invalid, I mean, that's a theater trained actor. And then Dean is the new school, method stuff. And
that's a great way to put it, is the theatrical kind of actor. Yeah.
Yeah. And those two apparently clash styles quite a bit, where Massey's expecting on script, on point, I know the lines that you're giving, I know the lines I'm giving back, and we're going to run it like that. Or that he was expecting classical exchanges. And of course, Kazan's there stirring the pot like, hey, Jimmy, go in there and just go for it. And of course, Dean, a methods guy, I will. And so like there's takes where, I think the scene that I saw the clip for that kind of compared it when Cal's talking to his father against the wall and they're arguing in the dining room and all that. And like, Cal's crying on his shoulder and like really emoting and physically laying all over Raymond Massey, and Massey between takes is like, get the fuck off me, like what are you doing, way too much. And he's calling the director, but like tell him to tone it down. And Kazan apparently is like, yeah, I'll tell him to tone it down, no problem. And then go to Jimmy like, you nailed it, nice job. So I mean, that's a pot stirring director who knows if you want to see clash and conflict, maybe casting it and booking it is part of it. Like when you cast the square against the tanglement person, the theater guy versus the method guy, you're going to see that clash on screen. It's going to make for great takes. Because if everyone's in on the drama or in on the rub or even in on the thing, then it's too fluid or too much unpredictability, or too dry and wooden and rote versus rote when two theater people are dueling. So the clash is real, and it just nails those scenes. It's so good.
It does up to a point.
Oh no, it's effusive. Like this is a thick movie and it's wrought with emotion. It's a hard watch.
Well, it's hard, but I hate to say it because I really do. I'm a big admirer of Dean. I like what he's doing, but especially it's one of those things, kind of like watching special effects from the 1980s, where there's a lot of practical effects and puppetry and stuff like that. Sometimes you get John Carpenter's The Thing, and sometimes you get Masters of the Universe, and you can look at it, 40 years later, you're like, oh my God, they make stuff that looks completely real, and that other stuff, you understand its importance, but it seems kind of quaint and sometimes kind of goofy. Here, there's a scene, it was one of the last blow-ups that Cal had with Adam, his father, and he runs like crying and yelling out of the house. And I'm like, it reminded me of that. You remember Scary Movie, right? The first one, the good one, where Tori Spelling was playing the scene in the cafeteria, and she just runs away flapping her arms. That
Yeah,
was James Dean in that scene. Like, I actually burst out laughing. I kind of felt guilty.
yeah, he's probably kind of overgoing for it. Where I mean, you marvel and you watch because you could. I mean, at that time it was Brando and him, and no one's going for it like that. So but you do realize, like, dude, well, that's a little much. It is. It's jarring. I had to think it was jarring then. It's still jarring now. So it's impressive stuff, but it's a lot. I had a
Yeah.
hard time watching this movie. I'd seen snippets and clips. I think I tried to circle and see it probably about 10 years ago when The Master came out, P.T. Anderson's film, where it evokes this, or like does the Northern California farming thing, the ne'er-do-well wanderer, and that's the Joaquin Phoenix character, and of course that has its own religious angles, but at the same time, not a Cain and Abel path. It's not the Steinbeck book, but like the visuals and the time period evoke East of Eden. So I'm like, I should go see what this is all about. And all I kind of got out of it was like when Joaquin Phoenix runs through a field of lettuce, like, oh, that's the East of Eden part. The rest of it's P.T. Anderson bullshit. So, yeah, and that movie chases his own tail even worse than anything here. At least this movie has a path, has a clarity, has a place that's heading to, and I can admire that. Thank goodness. But versus The Master.
Hey, thank you for saying that. I'm a
You're
huge
welcome.
P.T. Anderson fan, but
Yep.
I've only seen The Master once, and it was pure excruciating torture. And I
Same.
read and heard all the think pieces and conversations about how brilliant it was. I'm like, I might go back to it someday,
Same.
but
Maybe. I
I'm
don't know.
be kicking and
Yeah.
screaming.
Same. I think I would go back now and admire PSH, and miss what he had, but Joaquin just drives that movie to a halt every chance he gets. I can't do it. Same with you. Just it was hard. Too much. Too much.
Yeah.
But back to here is let me ask you a question. Is this is obviously a brothers and fathers story, and there's enough right there. How do you feel about the romance angle? Does it work? Is it a tag along, tack on thing, or is that help the dichotomy out?
It's strange because this movie is
Hmm.
just under 2 hours long,
Yeah.
and I feel there's a lot to bite into here, kind of thematically, as we've sort of talked about.
Hmm.
But in terms of some of the character interactions, and I'll circle back to the romance because Julie Harris plays Abra,
Yeah.
and I just talked about her in another movie, The Haunting from 1961.
Probably sounds about right.
Yeah, yeah, a few weeks ago, for another show. And, she's great in this. She's kind of an unconventional, leading lady. Not to say that she just doesn't have that, like, classical, like, movie
Yeah.
star bombshell thing. She's, like, very
Yeah.
much like a girl next door, but
Yeah.
she's also very kind of sophisticated and almost seems like too old to be messing with Cal, or Aaron. Like,
Right.
"What are
Because
you doing?"
aren't these boys supposed to be like 17? You know,
That I couldn't figure
I couldn't
out.
figure it out either. 21 at best. And
Right.
We know Dean's 26, 20, no, Dean's 26, 27. So I'm trying to
Yeah.
think how old Richard Davalos is to play Aaron. I don't know his age either, but yeah.
Well, look, when Luke Perry was aping James Dean for 90210, he was about the same
Hmm.
age. So,
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
True. Good
but
point.
but no, you bring up an interesting point is because you were on the verge of World War One,
Mhm.
and neither of these guys they even because their dad becomes like one of the key figures on the draft board, if not the head of the local draft board.
Right,
And there's no conversation about like, well, you guys got to go, or we have to shield you, or whatever. I don't remember
right.
those. So it might be that they were just, maybe they were 17. They were just on. They got lucky. Um,
Hmm.
but at the same time, they do look like they should be at least in college. And Julie Harris looks like she's, about to be a professor or something. I don't
Yeah.
know what's
A
going on there.
mother of two with, a minivan down the street. Right. Yeah, yeah.
But getting back to the point.
Yes, I'm sorry.
No, it's good. This is all worth talking about, but there are these character dynamics that I just feel like there was one or two scenes or bits of dialogue or context that were missing to kind of help flesh it out.
Agreed.
Um, we t- the conversation around Dad, around Adam,
Mhm.
is that Kate, who is played by Oscar winner Joe Van Fleet, she won the
Mhm.
Best Supporting Actress,
She
for
sure
this
did.
role, and
The only
she's
Oscar the
awesome.
film won. Yeah.
Yeah, got nominated for a few things, but won for
Mhm.
that, and she's terrific in this.
Mhm.
But she ran away from the family that she had, when the
Mhm.
kids were babies, and the claim is that her husband, who is a very religious man, kept wanting to try her, tie her down, and he was all like kind of fire and brimstone and very biblical and traditional and everything. And we got the feeling from her that he is this tyrant. And we kind of get the feeling from Cal that he's sort of overbearing and all that stuff. But in the scenes that we get with Adam, he's almost like he's a whipped, kind of like a tamed pussycat. He's a nice guy. He's a businessman who's like wowed by someone showing him how a car works. So he's not like John Lithgow in Footloose, where he's like, literally waving the Bible around and saying, "You're not going to go out with that person," or whatever.
Yeah.
So there was a disconnect there for me. I'm like, were Mom and Cal completely wrong and just reading their own bullshit into projecting that onto him, or did we just not see that version of Dad either behind closed doors, or maybe he was different 20 years ago?
Right.
I couldn't put that together. How about you?
I couldn't either. No, I like, if the breakup is, if the excuse or reasons given are the Bible thumping religious ones, it's hard. I mean, I see the stern man that Adam is, but like you said, in the other golly gee scenes, I don't see it. So someone's not telling the whole story. Maybe that's the point, that we get just one little thing that the mom, therefore then Cal hangs their head on to kind of put their hate against and all that. And they're going to run with that, that reduced amount of information in terms of why the motivation to hate your dad. But no, I think, I don't know how that comes back. I mean, other than a confrontation scene of where it all, a boil over where it all comes out. Well, let me tell you what really happened, other than some over exposition monologue. I don't know where else that's coming. So we have to go on suggestion. We have to go on feelings. And that is strong enough. But at the same time, it's missing a thing or two. I'm with you.
Well, right. Because essentially one thing that's not in dispute is the fact that right before she left, in fact, the way that she got away from Adam is she shot him.
Yeah.
And
so,
the way that she kind of told it is like, he wouldn't let me leave. So I'm picturing like an abusive alcoholic, like,
same.
yelling scripture at her. And finally she's like, "I've got to get out of here." And she shoots him. But the way that I read Adam's body language is like, he was so clingy and so in love. I mean, talk about Rio Bravo last week. Dean Martin's character was completely destroyed by a woman walking out on him. We kind of have the same thing here.
Yeah.
I got the feeling that she was like, "I can't get this guy off my leg." Bang. And then she walks out the door.
Yeah. But I'm with you. I think you're expecting something stronger, or now maybe that's the point of like, we're going to take our hamster wheel in our head and picture the scenarios you're talking about. And some movies can get away with that. Some movies can't. This one, would you say this one does, or did you need more? A morsel more?
Well, no, here's the thing. I might be in need of a bit more, not needed. It would have appreciated,
Same.
because there is that kind of disconnect, but it also paints Kate's character in a very different and interesting light, in that maybe she just tried to do the whole, like, I'm going to settle down, I'm going to be a mom thing. And it just wasn't for her. And then that feeling of badness of like, growing up without a mom kind of rubbed off on Cal in a way that it didn't for Aaron for whatever reason. But yeah, I hate to keep bringing it back to Barbie, but there is this weird idea of, Kate is the liberated woman. She's, the message of Barbie is, we don't need to settle down with, a man, and motherhood is not the ultimate, goal for every woman, all that stuff. I can go out and be a businesswoman. Well, Kate left her family behind and went out and made all the money to the point where she can just write a $5,000 check without being like, "You got to give me the interest back on that."
Right.
She probably makes that with her like brothel, like syndicated brothel network in like a day.
And that's like 1917 money too, where I'm like, dang, that's not even like Pretty Woman money. Like, I remember, what was it, like at the end of Pretty Woman, when the breakup happens with Richard Gere, like Vivian gets like $3,000, and we're like, wow, that was pretty amazing. And here she is 70 years earlier writing $5,000 checks. Or having that wad of sweaty cash. Good job,
Right.
Amazing.
But my point is, like, at the end of this, she's broken down, she's bitter. When Cal, introduces Aaron, I use that in quotes, to Mother, they go into her office and she's like waking up drunk from behind her desk. She's like, "What the hell's going on here?" I'm like, this is not the portrait of the happy, liberated woman. I feel like, and maybe this is a theme in Steinbeck's novel, I have no idea because I haven't read it, but it's almost like I don't want to call it the original sin because that kind of has other implications, but it's like when she rejects the motherly instinct to go off on her own and start this other empire because she thinks that's what her life calling is, are going to bring her satisfaction, she finds herself, old, empty, and alone.
Yeah. It's and we can read some of that in those scenes, but and it's probably that breakup situation thing where like each person doesn't think they're wrong when
Right.
when the flaws are probably so obviously clear from a third party looking in or even towards each other. So yeah. But no, I mean, Joan Fleet earned it. That was a fantastic role and really, really good performance where I tip my hat to that Oscar, and that well deserved.
And the costuming too, like that one outfit she has, I think it's in the first scene. It's like she's wearing these like black gloves, like a purple thing, and it's just like draped perfectly, almost like for each frame they went and reset the way that the wrinkles fall on her. It's just so perfect.
Yeah, it is.
But okay, this is all my way of getting back to your original question about the relationship between Cal and Abra, the romance.
Okay.
Again, it kind of go back to Rio Bravo. It's like, well, you got the lead actor and the lead actress, and they got to end up together.
True. You need something.
I'm not saying it's completely unnatural. It's just that maybe it's because James Dean had those simmering, pouty lips and that amazing hair and that kind of mystery. But she spent enough time around him. She has seen how he's kind of like a monkey, just like going from place to place, does a lot of crying, a lot of pouting, all of I'm no good, nobody loves me. And then you've got I was going to call him a college boy, but we don't even know if they're out of high school yet.
Right.
You've got Aaron, who's like the more sophisticated, put together guy, but there's no passion there, or at least you get the feeling there's not as much passion as the exciting James Dean. So I don't know what to make of their relationship.
If I'm the woman there, neither one of them. Like if you're passionless with the himbo, with Aaron, and then issue factory Cal is there, where you're like, well, he's hot in that hair, but damn, that boy's in issues, in trouble. Like, and there's somebody else in town that's kind of in the middle. Come on, Goldilocks, find the right porridge, Because I get it though, because Dean's bringing the smoke, but whew, I don't know what woman sits there and goes, oh yeah, tell me more about all these problems you have, mama's boy. Oh geez, like I don't know. Today's girls wouldn't give you a time of day. You get swiped left in a hurry on that one, I think. So yeah.
Well, it's funny because at the very end of the movie, after Dad has a stroke and he's in the bed.
Oh gosh, those scenes are rough. Yeah.
Well,
for the relationship part, because she's tagging along, like, oh boy.
But what I loved is that Abra goes in with Cal to visit Dad, and he gets down and has this like kind of heartfelt thing, and Dad kind of tells a joke about the nurse, and they both have a moment, and then he leans in to whisper something, and then she's like, "So what did he say?" And he's like, he said, "You can't leave, and you need to take care of me." I'm like,
oh boy,
what the hell?
Yeah. Again, and what nice small town future ahead of her girls can be like, yeah, hospice cares for this weird boyfriend is for me. That's what I want. Let's do this. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah. But that's 1950s. And even if you're playing 1917s from the novel, you stand by your man. And especially if that's the hot and bothered one that you find and you make it work. But oh boy.
That's why I do want to read the book, because there is that underlying almost level of sadness. I don't exactly know how the movie feels about that, because it does have that kind of like, it's a grand sweeping closing musical note, but it's not exactly happy and whimsical. It's almost like Gone with the Wind, kind of sad, right?
And knowing the code and almost like the ratings and what you could and couldn't do in a film back in the day, there's a real good chance the movie likely softens a pretty bleak book. Likely.
Right. Because she leaves the room. Like, Cal sits down in the chair to be next to Dad, and then she kind of leaves the room, and it's all very shadowy and dark. Like, think about it. Her now ex-boyfriend has gone insane, drunk, put his head through a window on a train, and then fucked off to God knows where.
Right.
And now she's left with a father-in-law, sort of, who's just had a massive stroke and needs to be taken care of. No one knows how long he's going to live. And then this bad wiring, screwed up, yelling, crying, very manipulative boyfriend who caused the dad's stroke and the ex-boyfriend to go insane.
Uh-huh.
Madman.
I know.
This is not a happy ending. This is not a
no,
good romance.
in 2 months, when dad dies in 1917 level medical hospice care, and brother's estranged and already gone, who's Cal going to go after next in terms of like the next manipulation or the next emotional outburst? He's going to go to you, girl. So get out of there while you can. This is a sequel novel here is just begging for bleakness. Yeah.
Well, and I want to be very careful here because my kind of, we already litigated Barbie, and my reference
I
back to
know.
it in terms of Joe Van Fleet's performance here. I don't want it to seem like, haha, all women need to stay and, just be
No,
barefoot and pregnant and all that stuff.
absolutely
I'm
not.
not
Yeah.
saying that, but I
No.
am
Yeah.
saying that there is a weird idea of, you get the feeling that she thought her life was going to be one thing if she made this deliberate choice, which sort of goes against, like, it's one thing to say, I don't want to ever have kids.
Right.
It's another thing to say, I just had 2 kids and now I'm going to leave them to go, run whores, right?
Right.
The
Yeah.
dark side, but the guys in this movie get it, I think, just as bad as the
Agreed.
so-called women folk, because if you look at this, like, oh, it's James Dean, he's this romantic kind of brooding guy. As
Mhm.
the movie goes on, you realize that is masking a very dark side, comparing like what he does with his brother.
Yes.
I mentioned a spiritual assassination. It is evil because
It
they get into this
is.
big blowout fight because Cal is rebuffed when now
Mhm.
Aaron kind of brought on some of this on himself because
Sure.
Adam's having a birthday.
Yeah. And
Cal, yeah,
bossy
sorry.
big brothers do that. That's how it rolls,
Right.
yeah. Mhm.
Well, but Cal brings him this fat stack of however many thousands of dollars he made off these beans.
Yeah.
Abra helps him, I think, wrap it or put a bow on it or something. They're all very excited, kind of conspiratorial. They bring Dad in, and Cal's like, "Dad, here's this birthday present." Like, "Oh, you got me a present. This is amazing."
Mhm.
And then Aaron jumps in and says, "Before you open it, we've got some news too. Me and Abra, well, I haven't told her. I think he literally says, well,
He
she
did say
doesn't
that,
know it
yeah.
yet, but we're engaged."
Oh, boy.
And the look on Julie Harris's face is just like,
Mhm.
what the
Uh-huh. Yeah.
downward spiral. So
Mhm.
Cal gives Dad the money. The dad immediately says, look, I don't want this. He doesn't even know where it came from, but he
Right.
knows in his mind it's a sort of form of war profiteering.
Right,
Um,
right, right.
and that's kind of, it's a tragic but sweet, not exactly a level of misguidance because you kind of see where he's coming from, but he also is too blind in that moment to see what his son was trying to do for him.
Mhm.
And that makes Cal lose his mind. He
Yep.
storms out. One of the, take a shot every time James Dean storms out of a building
Whew.
crying,
Yep.
right?
Plastered. Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
But
Be drunk quick.
he and Aaron have a confrontation again out in sort of this almost lush garden setting by a
Mhm.
tree.
Yeah.
And then Aaron's like, how dare you? And Cal said, or no, Aaron says, you never look at her again, never go near, my woman again. You're not welcome. I don't like you. I don't trust you. And then Cal
Mhm.
said, I want you to come with me somewhere. And again, this could be, Cain taking Abel out into the, hey, let's go a little further out into the field and see what happens with
Yep.
his rock. But no, he takes
Mhm.
him to the brothel and he opens the door to Mom's office. She wakes up from her stupor and he's
Mhm.
like, hey, Aaron, say hello to your mother. And he's like,
Uh-huh.
What?" And then he tries to get away. Cal shoves Aaron into Mom, who's like barely standing up. So they fall onto each other. And then he like slams the door,
Mhm.
practically locking them in together, and then leaves. It's chilling. Like he
It
gets
is.
this evil, sinister look in his face. His voice drops. I
Mhm.
don't remember seeing James Dean laugh as much as I did in this movie. And I've never seen him go as dark as in that,
Agreed.
couple of minutes. It's
Yeah,
tragic.
it is, and when you put that full depth, full circle with biblical roots and all, it's amazing what they were able to get away with in that novel and then get away with in the movie where this is and you look at the other things that were like nominated for Oscars and respected from this year, like this is the year Marty won as kind of that universal number one pick because it won the Palme d'Or in Cannes. This was like the breakout party of Ernest Borgnine doing something different. And it really, if you ever get homework and if you've ever seen it, Marty's really good. But at the
It's on
same
my list. I've never seen it.
yeah, it's very good. It might even be like on Tubi. Like it might be pretty free and easy to find. But maybe this is one of those hindsight 2020 things because you've got obviously this is Rebel Without a Cause same year. You've got Bad Day at Black Rock. Then you got cutesy wootsy Picnic. Making all the musical level Oscars and stuff like that. So But hindsight 2020, this movie's the the crash to the Saving Private Ryan, like the dark one, the message movie that normally would be the firebrand of something else that maybe it's too hard. You come back to, like, or here, I'll give the comparison to an Oscars a couple years ago. This is probably your Power of the Dog, where, hey, this is too dark and this is too bleak. Let's give this Oscar to something just a shade softer. We might respect and understand, like, there's some performance things going on in here that take some actors to some different places, but like, we can't crown the bleak one. And I think that's probably the end of the day thing we hear with East of Eden too.
Right. And to kind of go back to my point about like
Yeah,
the guys come off really bad in this
they
movie.
do.
It's like, there's the thing about the bad boys, they're so
Mhm.
mysterious and angsty, as we said, but they that can mask some very sinister stuff, because at the beginning of this movie, you have no idea that it's within Cal to do the things he does by the end of the
Right.
movie. It doesn't feel like left field. It just
No.
feels like he's just, even if he doesn't realize it's in him, this stuff has been stewing and kind of growing and being fed by the doubts and the aspersions of other people,
Mhm.
cast on him.
I agree.
Um,
Like, when
yeah.
we meet him in the movie, it's he's the wanderer around town. He's very silent, real twitchy. Where I think a different movie would start him off happy, and we'd witness the fall from grace that leads to the evil actions. We meet him; he's kind of already there, where he's already lost, already second favored, and whatever. Like, he's preloaded with all the issues we're talking about. They just get worse and darker, and that's a tough place for a mom pop audience to kind of step in and go, all right, let's identify with this young character. Can you? Because from moment one, he's a mess and he's difficult and he's hard to understand, and then of course the method way that it all comes out through the performance is, like you said, charisma aside, in terms of good looks and matinee idol dreamy stuff, the sex symbol that he's got. I don't know. Yeah, yeah. I don't know what dad goes, wait, you like James Dean? Yeah, back then, to these ladies who watched this movie, like, I, yeah, I don't know. It's I know you did the Chalamet comparison, but like, I'm trying to think of like a really, really, really problematic actor that we look at now. Like, ooh, I don't know if that's the one you want to hang your hat on, the poster you're going to have on your wall in your dorm room, girl. Like, I don't know. Like, it's dark. It's that dark. And then by the time Rebel gets out, there's plenty of darkness there too. I mean, like we've talked about in the show, everyone you meet is at the police station doing something wrong. They're already there too. So two preloaded movies where the bad, it's not become a bad boy. The arc, the hero's arc stuff is just not happening there. In fact, it might even be the reverse, where the highest we ever meet him is the teetering cliff he's already on, and then the descent is all you get, and towards maybe semblance and comeuppance. Like Rebel had that ending where we're in a better place. I mean, he loses that young guy friend in Salmonale, but like, he's come a little bit of a ways to maybe have some growth. I guess Cal, I don't know if can we say he ends with an upward trajectory to dig out of the reverse hero arc? I don't know.
No, because I
Yeah, I
mean,
think he's just
like,
down. Yeah.
right, because he's lost his brother, he's effectively lost his dad. I mean, again, you feel like they're gonna get kind of closer, maybe, but I don't know what that means when dad
Hmm.
might have a couple months to live and he's not
Right.
exactly coherent all the time. It is that I think if it were going to be a suggestion of an upright future, that scene would have taken place in the daytime, the curtains drawn back and
Correct.
everything. This was
Yeah.
very dark, almost like
Yes.
end of Citizen Kane, or beginning of Citizen
Mm.
Kane, rather.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, Rebels, very interesting comparison because they are similar movies. In fact, I was waiting for when the sheriff calls to the house towards the end of the movie, like, you guys, everyone has to come. There's something going on with Aaron. I fully expected a Sal Mineo situation where he's like drunk in the middle of the town fighting everyone. He's going to get shot to death or something like that. That doesn't happen. And,
Mhm.
at the end of Rebel, the family is kind of at least understanding each other and maybe, starting to fix things. And we
Mhm.
see that is a case of a brooding guy that you really can latch on to. He's got problems,
Agreed.
but he's good at heart and he's not totally mentally unstable, except for maybe a teenage alcohol problem. He can fix
Right.
that.
You can fix that. Yeah. But the
Cal is
things
all bad wiring. Yeah.
I know, I I don't, and I don't know if romance is going to fix that. I don't know if closure with the father is going to fix that. I think you're watching a man who's going to be broken for life, and much like the star himself, probably not making it a long time in life. You know, something will break him down. Something will put, I don't want to say suicidal thoughts in his head, but like, it doesn't look good for that guy without really serious help. And the nice girl in town who kind of loved the brother is probably not enough. Love's not the band-aid that's going to cure that thing. So yeah, this is versus Rebel Without a Cause, where there is some upward trajectory. It comes through tragedy and loss, but there's some understand. It takes that to push a few more people together, and it can work. And for me, that makes it's definitely a more entertaining and easier movie to watch. Where this one's a clinic. This one's a cup of coffee movie, like cup of coffee to hang with it, cup of coffee to disseminate it when you're done. Versus Rebel, that you can kind of just put on and take that ride, you know, and come out of it somewhere. But this one, whew, it's heavy.
Yeah, Rebel opens with, James Dean kind of cheery, drunk, falling down like watching a little toy monkey on the street.
Yeah, yeah.
In this one, there's a parallel scene to that where he's lying in that field of soybeans or whatever that they've been growing. But yeah, there's nothing really happy or upbeat about this, except when he steals that conveyor belt and kind of comes up with this assembly line idea for the lettuce, and then eventually Dad finds out. And he's like, "You got to return that." But even then, it's very much like, Cal, you got to go. Those men are going to lose their jobs. You got to go return this thing. It's not like, God damn it, what's wrong with you? You're going to hell.
Right.
It wasn't the
Yeah.
abusive dad that we're led to believe he might have been.
Mm-hmm.
But so,
Yeah.
yeah, any kind of, I guess, closing thoughts on East of Eden? Because we've talked about a lot.
Yeah. It's one of those movies where I like I'm saying with the cup of coffee stuff, where it's a movie you must, as a film fan, I think, witness once, respect, go let yourself dig into it, give it a night, give it a cup of coffee, give it a glass of wine, whatever you got to do. Come witness what was a powerhouse youthful force that we said earlier that you just don't see anymore. And I know that's what, like, even when you said Timothy Chalamet and Call Me by Your Name, no offense to Timothy, who's a bright young actor, he ain't got what James has, and even that role in Call Me by Your Name doesn't hold a candle to a movie like this. So, and I know the topics are heavier in something like Call Me by Your Name, and even other things that are out there, like the Moonlight. I think I always bring up Moonlight, where Moonlight goes for very hard issues, but at the end, with the whole triptych thing, you don't have one performance that's really powering the entire movie the way this one does. And to step back and realize that, like we said before, big studio resting the shoulders on an unproven actor who clearly blew the director away, and director cred saying, "Hey, don't worry, this kid's got it. I got this. Warner Brothers, don't worry. We're going to send you a great movie based on a great book, and it's going to be there." Where, yeah, this is for a cinephile, a casual movie fan. Challenge yourself with this. It is completely worth it. I think. Do this in order. See this one first to kind of go, whoa, James fucking Dean, damn boy, and then you can get that. You can wash it down with Rebel Without a Cause, and get your sex symbol, get your red, and still be moved, still be challenged. But start with the big challenge first. Don't go little and come back to East of Eden. So, yeah,
Yeah, and then give yourself like 3 months, get 6 pots of coffee, and then watch
yeah,
Giant, because Giant's
whew,
great, but it's also
yeah.
extremely long.
It is. It is. It is. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, we didn't even really talk about like kind of the small town stuff. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's this really great kind of theme of xenophobia, because
Yes.
we're going to war with the Germans, and there's a German kind of a shopkeeper, I think a shoemaker in town, gets his window busted in. He's
Mm-hmm.
like, there's all this like anti-German propaganda and speechifying going on, and he's like, no, my people aren't like that. This is all lies. And at one point, there's a mob that goes after him and starts ripping up, almost like charging into his house practically,
Yeah.
until Burl Ives shows up and gives everybody a, "Hey, how's it going, Sam? What are you up to over there?"
Right.
Like
Right.
that kind of small town, like, I'm the law, but I also know you. So put down the picket fence.
I
Um,
wonder I wonder how much of that is in the novel, whether it's in there a lot, reduced a little bit by the movie, or vice versa. Or if that is that, is that Elia Kazan, being a very proud Jew, pushing against the German stuff that has happened in his lifetime. Like, I wonder if that's, I don't know if that's a manufactured scene for the movie or something from the book, but I'd love to see some details there.
I like it because it kind of ties in with this idea,
It works. Yeah.
going directly to Cal's idea. This kind of a lovely town, everybody knows each other. There's a big sense of community, Americana, but
Yeah.
underneath there are these simmering tensions,
Hmm.
these problems that people don't really talk about until they just explode and things get out of control.
Yeah.
The same thing with Aaron at the end of the film.
Mm.
Um, what was it? Richard Davalos,
Yeah.
kind of an understated, unappreciated part. But his last scene on the train when he's drunk and he's completely tortured and
Mm.
his whole world's been shattered, when he put his face through the glass, I'd completely forgotten about that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
damn it, it looked like he actually did that and started like bleeding as the train pulled away.
Uh-huh. I think he
My
did.
God.
I'm sure there's an IMDb trivia somewhere, but wouldn't put it past him, you know.
Oh,
Yeah.
so good.
Or put it past Kazan saying, what would really look good if you put your head through the glass, go for it, kid. You know, I'll put some stock glass in there, it's gonna be fine. And then he does it, and then he goes through real glass. So yeah.
And that was the last movie with Richard Davalos. No,
Yeah.
but no, the thing I appreciate and about this film, and you're kind of touching on it too.
Okay.
This is one of those movies that feels like a novel. It's got themes, it's got
Mm.
complex plots, meaty dialogue, a decent runtime with a lot going on that you feel
Yeah.
like you can watch this and really dig into like a great book. And not all the themes are writ large across the scene. Like, this is how I want you to feel about everything. It's something
Yes.
you really got to think about and ruminate on and talk about with
Yeah.
your friends, as we've done here.
Yeah. This wasn't made in a screenwriter's lab whatsoever. This is, like you said, I don't know who the screenwriter was. If it isn't Kazan himself, but yeah, like this is, you could tell. We said it earlier, care and consideration was made, not just visually too. Like, I mean, God, the widescreen and the colors could pop out of this movie too. And obviously there's always those scenes that evoke and call this, the let us feel is the train and the smoke going through and all that, where it's a darn good looking movie as well as it is the volume of which its drama takes place in. So yeah. Whew.
Yeah. Well, screenwriting credit goes to Paul Osborne and John Steinbeck. John Steinbeck, probably because of the novel
Yeah.
connection.
I wonder if Osborne's done other work. Interesting. Cool.
Yeah, I think he's done movies that I have not seen, but I've heard of. Sayonara, South Pacific, Portrait of
Ooh.
Jenny. I don't know.
Hmm.
But yeah, definitely probably worth checking out. And we're going to check out of this conversation Don
Mhm.
Shanahan of Film
You bet.
Obsessive and Every Movie Has a Lesson, Cinephile His If It podcast,
Mhm.
and many more conversations to come about probably more Warner Brothers releases at this point.
Happy 100th birthday, Warner Brothers. We're here for you. Yeah.
Do you get the feeling that there's, maybe it's true with other studios, but it feels like a lot of these movies we've been talking about deal with like dysfunctional families and like brother,
Well, I
father, son
mean,
issues?
I think and I think you and I have seen this enough with film history where the quintessential movies that get put on the list of best this and best that when it comes to themes, best family themes, best brother themes, best marriage movies, they're always cooking with dysfunction. Where I think that just sells because perfection or the utopian this or perfect this and perfect that just isn't real life. So if we can grab it, if we can watch a movie with dysfunction, point our own fingers at the movie and then point our own thumbs back at us to be like, our family is kind of a little bit messed up like that too. That those things just play because it shows a parallel of life's imperfections that we can kind of relish in and enjoy and go, all right, look, they have that too. And that could be as dramatic as the East of Eden, or that can be my dad's just like Clark Griswold in Vacation. It could be heavy and light, but like, oh yeah, we took a family vacation once and it was just as disastrous as the Griswold stuff. And I can sit back and an audience can sit back and have a touch point with that. A heavy one like East of Eden or a light one. So I think those will always play. Like the golden perfect things don't, tortured heroes always do better than true blue heroes, other than that guy on the cape over there. Like Batman's always going to out earn Superman. The Godfather and massive crime movies always outdo do-gooder movies, and that's just, I don't know. It's the escapism. It's all those ingredients of why people want to see a story that's not their own, or enough of one that just touches enough, but then but you can take a step back and have comparisons, but not be too seen. I don't know. It's those ones always play.
Well, it's interesting because, and I will let you go in a second here, but you mentioned
Okay.
The Godfather. You
Yeah.
know, Godfather 3 is the one where Michael Corleone decides, hey, I'm going to go legit. And that's
Oh,
like the least regarded of all of them, because it's like,
yeah.
no, we don't want to see this guy trying to have a redemptive arc in his life. That proved to not be possible in Godfathers
Yeah.
1 and 2. And even though that movie it is a tragedy like the other Godfathers, there is that thing like, wait, he wants to be a good guy? No, no, that's not the romantic kind of gangster that we've
Hmm.
come to know and love.
Or I mean, or it goes too far. Look at Terminator. Like, we obviously, the original Schwarzenegger's one of the creepiest, amazing villains we'll ever have. They do this hero switcheroo face turn in T2, but then they beat that to death with T3 in every movie after, where Arnold won't let himself not be the hero. Where you could do it once, but you can't keep doing it over and over, or you do take away a little bit of the juice that got you there in the first place. Like Die Hard, same thing. Like John McClane has kind of gone soft since Die Hard 3, or the adventures have gotten a little dumber. Fast and the Furious, these guys were all thieves and criminals. Now they're what, secret agents of the government that solve the world's problems. Like, you're jumping too much and too far. So it's gonna go that way. You could be we're beating dead horses at some point. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how we got here from East of Eden, but
It's all right.
I'm glad we did.
Yeah.
But no, man, thank you very much
Mhm.
for another stimulating conversation, folks. Check out Don's stuff. All the information will be below. And if you liked it, if you like the show, please like and subscribe. And yeah, until next time, whenever that is, whatever that is. Thanks very much, and take care.